Alport-Hodge to Councillor Kevin Bake.
Thank you, Mayor. The question is, what is this council doing to protect public art and treasured heritage in Basildon, south of the A127? I don't actually quite know why it's as the south of why A127 have divide, but I thought it was all inclusive throughout the borough. The council does inspect and repair public art that is on its land, and therefore its responsibility. It is difficult to extend this responsibility to the art which is not on our land, and therefore not in our ownership. Officers are working with the arts community to ensure that owners of those works are communicated with, and we do our best we can to protect them, what is there, and all the residents to appreciate.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Blake, for your response. Basically, this came about as a result of listening to a phone-in with Essex Radio, and I was quite enamoured by the fact that a number of local people were phoning in response to a request for them to identify landmarks, works of arts, and the like that they felt would benefit from being protected. And some of the sort of arts and treasured heritage that was made mention of was obviously the mother and child fountain in the town centre by Maurice Lambert. The Cabinet member was also aware that there was a very large iconic metal fountain which stood 8 and 10 foot high above the ground and the same dimension beneath, which mysteriously disappeared. It was known fondly by the residents of Basildon as the Pineapple. And basically, that was it was commissioned by the Ford Motor Company from the artist William George Mitchell to enhance the area in front of Trafford House. The firm's then newly acquired premises in Cherry Down, East Basildon. As the Cabinet member will be aware, that sort of seemed to disappear. But we've also got...
Can I have a question, please?
I'm giving the background to it. Yeah.
Could you short me down? We need this question because we've got a long evening and I think we want to get on.
Well, I'll just synopsis it then. We've obviously got the ceramic tile panel in the Eastgate Shopping Centre, the St Martin's Bell Tower, the town clock, which was relocated, another thing that was raised was the facade of the Barge Pub. So, question 2, the work of the Basildon Development Corporation started in 1951. Will the Cabinet member agree that Basildon is no longer a new town and should in fact now be rebadged as a mature town with the aim, where possible, to preserve our treasured heritage, possibly through a formally recognised Basildon Heritage Trust, with the aim of encouraging today's artists and architects of both landscape and buildings to create the heritage of the future whilst protecting the heritage of the past?
Councillor Blake, would you like to answer, please?
I want to work out what part of that was a question. We're a borough rather than a town now. So, I suppose some of my response came in the first part, actually. Some of it is not in our ownership, therefore we can do very little about it. That we know of that is in our ownership, officers are quite aware, the mosaic, for example, how precious that is, and are quite aware that under no circumstances will that come down. So they are aware of issues like that. As regarding the arts in the borough, I do refer to the borough rather than the other side, this side of the A127. Supporting the arts is important to the council, demonstrated by the commitment we have given to the reopening of the Tango Theatre 10 years ago. We have seen a steady increase in audience, and therefore we have created opportunity for the residents of Basildon to enjoy performing arts of all kinds, including opera, ballet, play, music, especially our 5-star pantomime. Oh yes, it was. And the theatre also displays art on the wall for all and for them to see every day. These include the Basildon Arts Trust collection, as well as new pieces painted by some of our own very talented residents. What I will add is that some years ago, there was a little bit of history. We went to the Woodsman, I'm sure, when I was wanted dead or alive by several people, some of them in this room at the moment. And we've done all we could to protect that piece of art. We've done what was asked of us. Money from all parties has not been put aside to keep it in a good condition. We eventually took it down to Cllr. We then had negotiations with the people who owned it, Chaplins, I think they are, and it was agreed that we would take it to an area in Thurrock where it would be restored and come back into us, and that was about 2 or 3 years ago. We've done that, we took it up there, and quite frankly we haven't seen it since, and we had nothing about it at all, which is quite disappointing. We also set up a fund at one point for the arts community. The problem with that is, and I've said this before, and I don't apologise for saying it again, when you had the arts community together, unlike us sports people, whereas they're used to constitutions, they're used to working to rules and whatnot, artists don't work to rules, and I think that's a good thing that they don't work to rules. But to get around the table to agree to something, to get what done, for them to agree themselves what was half the problem, to be absolutely honest. It's a very difficult thing to do. However, we do all we can for the arts, and I have to say at the moment we are working extremely hard with them in the borough, and we do show off the Basildon Arts Trust paintings all over the place.
Do you have a second supplementary, Councillor?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Basically, I accept Councillor Blake. It is extremely difficult to extend the responsibility to look after art that is not on our land and therefore not in our ownership. But as the town centre evolves and regeneration takes place, I think it is important that we look at the possibility. So the question is, can we explore the possibility of perhaps the voluntary sector getting involved in forming a Basildon Heritage Trust to basically identify these pieces of art and to safeguard them for future generations. Thank you.
Councillor Blake. I will stand to be corrected, but I thought we had a Heritage Trust already, so I'm happy to apologise if that is not the case, but I'm looking at Councillor Williams, who seems to be in agreement with me that there is already a Heritage Trust.
Yeah, there is.
Okay, there are no further questions to Cabinet members, so we'll move on to agenda item 7.